Welcome back to Wild, Wise and Curious, Embracing Our Journey, where we're excited to continue the conversation around all things peri and beyond. We'll continue to explore all our stories, challenges and importantly the wisdom we learn along the way. As usual, we'd love to chat with women just like you who might like to share your own perimenopause or post-menopause stories with us. We can't wait to chat with you. Hello and welcome to Wild, Wise and Curious. Today, Lou and I are going to have a good catch-up of the last sort of 17 episodes because we can't believe it. We're 18 episodes in and we've had such an amazing time talking to some fantastic women about their journeys with perimenopause and beyond. And so, we thought we'd just catch up and talk about some of the things we've chatted about and some of the things we've learned along the way and some of the things we're still learning about.
And continue to learn, yes.
And continue to learn about on this learning journey. So we are being very spoiled right now because we've come away on a little Wild, Wise and Curious retreat. A real jolly. We've been absolutely blessed with the weather. It's glorious. We're in Snowdonia. Mountains behind us. Been down to the beach and actually felt like we were somewhere in the Med.
It was beautiful.
Golden sands. It's been absolutely gorgeous. And we've obviously chewed the fat from getting in the car on Friday morning until right now, which is about 2 or 3 days later. I don't even know. Who knows what day it is? So we've covered lots of things this weekend, haven't we, Lou?
Yeah, and I think the reason that we've come away was first and foremost it was because we are celebrating our 50th birthdays in the next
couple of weeks
for me. Next few weeks for me, and within the month for you. Yeah, next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So we kind of just decided to take some time out, didn't we, and come and spend some time together and come and make some plans on what we were going to be doing with Wild, Wise and Curious, and just kind of catch up, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So this has been a lovely time to do it.
Yeah, definitely has.
We'll put some pictures on of how glorious.
Yeah, we will. We were actually going to record yesterday afternoon, but the sun was shining just that bit too bright. So we went down to this absolutely incredible beach that stretched for miles and miles. And as I said earlier, it was just golden sands. And we couldn't pull ourselves away from it, could we?
Yeah.
But we did take a picture that said WWNC 2025, like we were kids in Ibiza back in the 90s.
You can't go to the beach and not do something like that, right?
No, definitely can't.
But this is a good opportunity for us to really kind of talk about, because we started in January.
Yeah.
And we're now in May.
Yeah.
And we've had so many different kinds of conversations, and I think it's just been really nice because we've learnt a lot along the way as well, haven't we?
We have learnt so much.
We've met some absolutely incredible women. All the women we've met have been incredible.
Yes, they have.
And actually, it's a really nice time for us to just pay tribute to that.
Yes,
and
absolutely
thank them for the fact that they've spent their time with us and shared their journeys, and all of them have been so open about their journeys, and we've felt really blessed, haven't we? To be able to witness that and to be part of that, and they've trusted us with their stories, and it's been incredible. And we always get a real buzz, don't we?
We do.
Afterwards,
we do.
And having these lovely conversations with people. But also in that time, we're going through our own journeys, and we're doing things differently or whatever, and things that we said that we were doing in January may have slipped by the side, and we might have started new things. And so it's probably a good time for us to kind of
talk about what's going on for us as well. Yeah, definitely. So I've been doing the collagen now for 3 months.
So people will be wanting to know about how that's been going.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of don't know. I can't really see any massive differences.
See, I think your skin looks great, but your skin has always looked great anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No, I don't know. Maybe it's a bit plumper, but that might have also been because I've not been exercising so much. So I don't know if it's the collagen or the fat in my cheeks.
What about your nails and your hair?
Nails wise, I don't know. My nails are pretty strong anyway, so wouldn't have even really noticed. And hair, I thought I was getting some new hair growth, but now I can't work out whether it's new hair growth or just split bits. I don't know. I haven't really, I can't go, oh my God, I feel so much better on the collagen. Maybe I need to not take it for a little while and then just see if I notice any difference. Because it's all trial and error, isn't it?
It is, and and we've said this before, haven't we? The fact that we're all so unique and things will work really well for some people and not so for others. So, like, I tried the collagen, and it didn't agree with me at all. Yeah. But just taking it didn't agree with me, which I was really upset about because it tastes really nice. The one I was taking,
not like the one that I take. That tastes like fish guts.
The raspberry one I was taking was lovely, so I missed that as an addition to my breakfast in the mornings. But I mean, I'm sure there's loads of other things that I could be taking, but I have just decided not to do any of that right now, because I'm going to kind of, I guess, strip everything back, and try and do things as holistically as possible, I think, and I don't want anything to interfere with that. So I've always talked about journaling, haven't I?
Yes,
and I'm not going to lie, I've been very sporadic with it. I do kind of journal, and I've been like tracking my cycles and stuff. My cycles have really started to change. My periods of so I went from before HRT. I was having periods every 3 weeks. Yeah. And now I'm like, my last one was like nearly 6 weeks until I had a period. So my periods are really changing. So I need to track even more so now how I'm feeling and what's working for me and what's not. But I am literally stripping everything back to basics, and I'm journaling that every day. Although I haven't done this weekend because
I've not seen you with your
pen. We've been away, and
you've not had time to write.
I've not had time because we've been so busy. So that's something I need to get back on. But that's my plan. My plan is to journal every day on how I'm feeling, what's working for me, what my mood's been like, and really, like I say, strip it back to the basics. What am I eating? What am I doing? Movement-wise. How much water am I drinking? I know. All the basics. And going back to basics. Yeah. And I want to see how that works for me.
How it impacts you.
Yeah.
And that's a really good way. I think the journaling, the more I hear about it, and the more I hear about different women actually writing it down, it stops that tricky trickster, doesn't it, of sort of like coming through halfway through your month and saying, oh my God, you feel terrible, because all you really need to do is look back a month and go, oh yeah, I felt exactly the same before. But probably even more important with what you're doing, because you're talking about stripping everything right back. So if you're stripping everything right back, so perhaps stopping taking supplements or whatever it is, you want to know how that is impacting you. And if you are writing it down on a daily basis, you'll see a pattern, won't you? So if all of a sudden you start to feel shite, you can go, ooh, is that because I've stopped doing that or stopped taking that? Or if, on the flip side, if all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I've not felt this great, but you've been doing, I don't know, more exercise or eating a much cleaner diet, or whatever, then you can go, man, I need to do more of that. Yes. Just so that you feel more energised and
that's my hope.
Joyful.
That's my hope. Yeah. That's what I'm working towards.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I keep saying, and like I bought the journal, back in February, and I still haven't written in it, but I did take the cellophane off, so,
We're a step closer.
We're a step closer. And as a writer, actually, I mean, I really should have written in it by now, but...
So what's stopping you? I'm curious.
Okay.
Time?
Maybe, but that's an absolute crap excuse.
It is a crap excuse.
Now, so I do a little bit of journaling, but what I've not done is I've not journaled symptoms. So my journal every morning is I do some affirmations.
Okay. So you are journaling,
I am, yes, in a different way. And I've been doing this for, well, on and off. I mainly do it most days, but I've been doing it on and off for probably about 12 months. That 369 principle, where you write something like that you want to have affirmed or manifest in your life. I'll write it 3 times in the morning, 6 times at lunch, and 9 times at night. And I think it's all to do with, like, the more you write it, the actual act of writing it sort of like can solidify attracting the manifestation
Okay,
more
okay.
so. I don't know loads about it, but I was like, oh, I'll have a go.
Okay.
But I write those.
So are you doing it morning, midday?
I went through a phase of about 6 weeks of doing it.
Because that feels intense.
But I did it for about 6 or 8 weeks, and then I slipped off.
Yeah.
So now I probably just do it in the morning. But what I do is, so where I only write it 3 times, I then write something else about how the gratitude bit, I'm grateful. What I'll write is, I know people do it like write before you go to bed what you're grateful for from that day. But for me, I quite like it the following morning to write down what I was grateful for from the day before, because then I can take that gratitude forward into that day.
Yeah.
Because I'm only going to go to sleep when I write it at night.
Yeah.
I know it can happen subconsciously.
No, but that
and stuff.
feels really like a positive way of setting yourself up for the day.
Yeah.
Right?
So I also do. So there's that. So I'll write things like what I enjoyed from the day before. And then I'll write, if I know if I've got something coming up, I'll write that in. I've got this coming up and I'm really looking forward to it. Or I'm a little bit nervous about this. Or, I've got to make sure I do this. So it's almost like a jumble sale of like a bit of the 369, a little bit of affirmation and gratitude, and this is how I feel about this, this and this. So it's kind of doing it, but I'm not doing it where I'm looking at myself and sort of studying myself and how I feel.
So what's been the thing that stopped you from adding, just because you've already got that time and space set out for what you're doing?
Yeah.
So what's stopping you from
Nothing.
adding that on?
All right. Just add it onto that. Okay, I'll do that. Maybe it's just a transference from the nice pretty book that I'm using to do that. I'm seeing those as 2 separate tools. Actually, they could just be the same one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I can do that.
And even if it's just a list.
Yeah.
Start with, because that's how I started.
Yeah.
Because I found starting to journal really quite difficult, but I'm a list person.
Yeah.
I like to tick off a list.
Yes, I like to tick a list
So
off.
in order for me to start doing the journaling, all I did was I listed how the symptoms that I felt. I was very symptom led at that point. I literally put where I was in my monthly cycle, listed all my symptoms, and perhaps gave it a grade of 1 to 10, how I felt.
Yeah.
And I started like that for ages.
Yeah.
And that kind of, it seemed doable. It was easy. And also then it gave me something to track and then be able to go to the GP with. And then as I progressed with that, I started writing, a little bit more about what I'd done in that day that would have contributed possibly to those symptoms feeling a bit better or a bit worse.
Yeah.
So it evolved naturally.
Yes. Yeah.
So maybe it's just that thing.
Just
adding
the next.
Start.
Yeah. Just
start with something, even if it's just grading your mood or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Or even just noticing where you are in the cycle.
Yeah. I love the idea of knowing where you are in the cycle, and like I've been kind of mentioning on the last through the episodes, and I still haven't had a period since November, and that's kind of coming up to 6 months again now. So I think we spoke, it might have been when we chatted with Kelly about the cycles, and actually something that came up in that conversation where it was a case of, well, even if you don't know where you are in your cycle because you're not having a bleed, just track anyway, because you'll probably be able to work it out where you are in your cycle based on how you feel.
Yeah. Because that really made me laugh, even when I re-listened to that episode, because you were going, but how am I going to know how I'm feeling? And then you looked at me and it was just like, okay, journal. Okay. And then you literally answered your own question. I didn't have to say anything. You just looked at me and I was like, I was about to say, and you... So that did make me laugh out loud when I re-listened to that.
I know. So
But,
it is an answer, and actually it's common sense, really, isn't it?
It's because we all know what we need to be doing, but it's really hard to sometimes either get started or put it into our daily routine or whatever, And one of the things I'm working on at the minute is my morning routine. I usually sit down and drink a coffee and get my news via Facebook
Yeah.
and end up scrolling for half an
Yeah.
hour. And I'm thinking, that's half an hour
Yeah.
there that I've got. So what I've started doing is going off and doing some Qigong.
Yes.
And I use my half an hour in the
Yes.
morning to go and do my Qigong.
Yeah.
And that for me is far more worthwhile and will set me up for the day much better
Yes.
than scrolling through Facebook and getting stressed
Yes.
out by the
Yeah.
rubbish that's on there
Yeah.
and being bombarded by information that I don't want.
No.
So that has been a positive move forward.
Yes.
That I have taken on, and I've been able to integrate that into my normal routine now. So then it's working on the next thing.
Yes.
And it's just doing that, piecing it all together quite slowly. I'm no saint. I'm not
No.
going to pretend I am.
No.
But I'm just trying. And then the days I don't do it, maybe when I'm starting to track it, I might see that there's a difference or whatever.
Well, I guess if you see a remarkable difference for the better or for the worse, you're going to be more informed by it. You're going to think to yourself, oh, was it really worth me eating that kilo of Cadbury's? Because I felt like shit for 3 days. Actually, that wasn't worth it. Oh, that hike up a hill, that made me feel fantastic for 3 days afterwards.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to do more hill walking.
Yeah, all right. That's you telling me. Yeah, I'm getting it.
We walked up a big, what did we do? We walked up and over a big hill.
We walked down a big hill, which we then had to walk back up the big hill. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Actually, we stopped halfway down the big hill and Lou said, oh, are we going all the way down there? Because if we go all the way down to the bottom, we've got to turn around and come all the way back up to the top.
Listen, I am very much aware of my limits.
But the views were worth it.
The views were beautiful, and we've got some wonderful pictures from that. But again, what that has told me is I really do need to build on my endurance and my ability to be able to walk up hills. But again, that's me listening to my body and thinking.
It is. Yeah, definitely. But I think what we did do, and I know we walked back up the hill quite, relatively steadily. I was going to say steadily, but we actually talked all the way up it.
Yeah,
and actually,
that's because we were going so slow, Michelle.
Oh, all right. Yeah, you did keep stopping to admire the view.
I did,
and that backwards walking thing to slow down. I was like, I've got your number.
It's actually good for you to walk backwards now and again. It's good for your balance and stuff.
Is it? Up a hill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just generally.
Okay.
Yeah, I sometimes do it with the dog.
Oh.
If the dog stops...
Does the dog walk backwards?
No, but if the dog stops somewhere and I'm waiting for her to come, I will keep my eye on her and walk backwards because it's good. It's really good for your balance.
If only we had a swivel head so we could see where we were going.
Yeah.
That'd be weird.
Yeah. Anyway.
You don't want a swivel head there.
My neck pain wouldn't take it, Michelle.
Maybe you wouldn't have neck pain if we just had a head on a screw that spun round. Oh no, what was that? There was a horror film, wasn't there, that had... Okay, sorry, I'm digressing.
We digress.
We digress.
Yeah.
It's because the views are so beautiful.
So what have you been doing then over the last few months, apart from your collagen?
What have I been doing? Right, so what I didn't do is, so just coming up to before Christmas, I stopped going to the gym and swimming because my shoulder was giving me loads of jip. We've got estrogen receptors in our shoulders. Well, we have them all over our body, don't we? But
that's a real common symptom, isn't it, for a lot of women? Frozen shoulder, where you can't actually lift your arm up enough, or you can't put your bra on, and it's really quite debilitating.
Yeah, and I have it where it can be fine, totally fine, and then I'll be sitting doing some work at the computer, or I'll just be out in an evening having a meal or chatting with friends, or I can just be sitting like we are now, and my shoulder will just start. It feels like toothache in my shoulder, and it's like it doesn't go away. And I've got some really nice, I've got a nice aromatherapy cream that I put on it that kind of takes the edge off it. It's got a bit of is it camphor? Yeah, it's got camphor in it. It will slightly take the edge off it, but then it comes back. So I've not been able, I felt like I've not been able to swim because I was swimming 50, 60, 70 lengths about 4 times a week. And I was putting it down that my my tummy was going down, I was putting that down to the fact that I was only sticking to the no ultra-processed foodstuffs. But actually, when I look back, I was also swimming about 4 or 5 times a week.
But don't you find that they feed into each other? So
Yes.
I know that when I'm going to the gym regularly,
Yeah.
I don't want to be eating the crap
No.
because I want to be able
Yeah.
to do better at the gym.
Yeah.
And it's like that feeding
Yeah,
in
it
cycle,
does.
isn't it?
Yeah, because it's almost like you're working out. So what's the point in going and having a McDonald's or not that I would anyway, but or shoveling a load of crap in your mouth. You don't want to do it, do you? Because
you're less inclined to do
Yes,
it, aren't
you
you?
are.
When you
when you're on it.
Yeah, when you're on it.
Yeah.
But because then when you have the moments of, I've stuffed my diet anyway, and I might as well just trough everything.
Sack it all off.
Yeah, and that's it. And I've ruined everything anyway.
So
And
yeah,
it has the opposite effect.
it
then,
is. It
doesn't
definitely does. So I was doing really well up until Christmas, and I'd really lost my belly, and I was like really chuffed because it had just kind of gone away from doing, say, swimming about 4 times a week, and doing this no ultra processed food. Where you literally don't eat anything you don't know what it is. Like all the additives and preservatives and stuff like that that's in food. So, and it was, for me, it was quite a simple to follow. But obviously I was doing the swimming and I was walking every day. But then it steadily, it's because I've stopped that, it's kind of crept back on a little bit. So you're asking me what I have done differently. I haven't. That's something I have done differently. I haven't been going to swimming, and I like swimming because of my shoulder. So I know I need to address the shoulder issue because I need to get back into the pool because I enjoy that and it does my body good and it keeps me motivated to eat well and not slunk off and go, sod it, I'll eat this chocolate.
But it's really important as well that you found a way of movement that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Because that's what I struggle with, finding stuff that I actually enjoy. It all seems like such a chore.
Yeah.
The only thing that we've talked about this before is that I do really enjoy Zumba.
Dancing is fantastic.
That's so much
though.
fun, and we
Dancing
just have
is
such
so
a
much
laugh.
fun. I mean, I'm still doing the yoga. I quite fancy the Zumba. I love dancing. I absolutely love dancing. It's one of the things that I used to love when I was younger, when we'd go out drinking and then go to the clubs.
I miss that.
Yeah, it's the dancing part of that, where you just totally let yourself go to the music. And yeah, I absolutely love dancing.
Because when we were younger as well, we were able to just go for hours just dancing.
Yeah.
Now I won't be able to manage a whole song. When you're doing like the discos in your kitchen and stuff and having a good old break, I'm like, crikey, I can't even dance for a whole song
disco.
now.
But I do, honestly, it's in my head as one of the things for the 50th is to perhaps go to, one of the, I know it probably only into the city, but just go somewhere for a boogie. I really fancy it.
There's places now that are doing like daytime.
Oh my God, I
discos,
know,
isn't
yes.
there?
And they
What,
finish
isn't that
about
perfect?
8 o'clock or something.
Oh my God,
yeah.
that is perfect. If I'm going to be going out now, I'd much rather have a lunch date.
Yeah.
And then, or an early evening date.
Yes, yeah.
I say date, when you go out with your mates or whatever, go for dinner or something. I'd much rather do that now and then be home by 10 o'clock.
Yes. Well, we're going to, Tom and I have been to a festival in London a couple of times because he really loves his dance music. It's not my thing, but I go with him because he's my husband and I'm like, come on, we always have a great time anyway. We stay over for a couple of days. And to be fair, there's a couple of artists that I've kind of grown to enjoy the story that their music takes you on. If I can equate something to story, I'll like it. So that's my way of doing it. And so what's it called? Junction 2. And it takes place in a massive park outside London somewhere. And part of the set is underneath a massive motorway. So you kind of like got the motorway ahead over the top of you. But there's like this massive dance set all set out underneath this massive motorway. So it's very techno and probably techno. I mean, I'm saying techno. I have no clue about dance music. Tom would be like, "What the hell are you talking about? You have no idea about dance music." Anyway, it's all sort of set up and like graffiti and all the rest of it. The visuals of it are fantastic. So, you know, we'll go there, and there are fields as well. I think it's on Boston Park. And then you go, it's sort of like they have different fields where there's different music on. But that starts at midday on a Saturday. I think this year it's 3 days, but you can buy day tickets. But it starts at midday and then it runs till midnight. So that was my first kind of like encounter of like these daytime things. And actually, as part of one of my 50th birthday things, I'm going with Tom and some friends to see, I call them Groovy Armadillo.
Yeah,
Groove Armada.
Love Groove Armada.
Yeah, we're going to see them and loads of other
amazing.
artists in June. And that's a day thing. That's a 12, midday till 10 o'clock or something like
Love that.
So it's like you've got that lovely festival vibe, but by 10 o'clock you can go, oh, thank God for that. I
Best
can
of
go
both
home.
worlds, right?
Yeah, defo. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't probably go back and go to bed because I'd be with friends and Tom and stuff, but it's quite nice to sit your ass down on the sofa and, you know, chew the fat for a few hours rather than still having that doof, doof, doof.
Because we've done our time with that now, coming home at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning after being out
Leave that
all
to the
night.
kids now, right?
Yeah, too old for that
Yeah.
shizzle now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I leave that to the kids. So those daytime things. So I think maybe that this is not a bad thing, you know, and it does come back to sort of perimenopause, talking about these things and perimenopause and beyond. It's kind of understanding the things that make you happy, going back to that, living from your joy and doing the things that make you happy, but doing the things that make you happy in a way that your sort of body at this stage can handle it.
That's a really good point, yes.
So that's, I think, probably what I'm trying to do, even though it's only right in this moment that I've realised that's what's happening. You see, Lou, remember, we have to say things out loud, don't we, to kind of process them.
Oh, we've been hanging out too long.
No, haven't we just? Still not bored. In fact, shall we stay here in the cabin, because it's bloody lovely.
Oh, I love it here.
It's just so lovely.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful pine cabin, wood cabin in the hills. It's just got all those beautiful features of living in a cabin on the land. So it's a happy place.
Yeah, we'll definitely come back here.
We'll definitely be coming back.
Yeah.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, one thing I have noticed from listening back to the podcast, we don't say absolutely so much as we did in the first episodes.
No, I think we're very much aware of that.
Yeah.
But but also, I think as well, because we've been having lots of wonderful guests on.
Oh my God, yeah.
And the conversation hasn't been between you and I so much.
No, it hasn't.
So, we've possibly not had the opportunity to say it. We do say it.
We do say it. We do say it. Yes, we do.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've learnt so many things, haven't we?
What has really struck me from all of the conversations that we've been having is we started this, didn't we? Because we came together over perimenopause and the symptoms that we've been going through, and we wanted to kind of talk to other women and see what their journeys have been and see what's worked for them and what hasn't. And my biggest takeaway so far has been that so many of us feel this incredible transition period.
Yes.
It's not... Perimenopause is almost like a sideline.
Yeah.
It's the introduction into changes that we need to make. We're coming into this period of life, and our body's telling us stuff, and we need to listen.
Yep.
Because it's a transitionary period. Much like puberty is a transitionary period.
Yeah.
You know, for those of us that have children, pregnancy is a transition period, and it's just the next one along, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
But what I've loved to hear in all of the conversations is the, I don't want to say positivity as in like, you know, toxic positivity kind of thing, but the positive things that are coming out of that,
yes,
and the changes that we're making, and that are having a positive impact on our lives, and we're coming to know ourselves really well, and making changes and doing really exciting stuff.
Yeah.
And realising that this is nowhere near the end.
No.
This is just the next phase.
Yes.
And some of the women we've been talking, I would say all of the women we've spoken to, have all had elements of that.
Yeah, they've all recognised that.
Yeah, and they've been doing stuff, and and all of them have been absolute inspiration.
Well, I think every single conversation that we've had, we've come away and thought about things, thought about whatever it has been that has been discussed with, like, it's stuff that the stuff has been resonating with me over and over, and I'm finding myself researching and looking up some of the things that people are talking about.
Yeah.
You know, and then potentially some of those things you're adapting into your own.
Yeah.
Into what it is you're doing. And I guess what we're kind of building is like an encyclopedia of, you know, different things that people could look at, or you know, oh, that person's story is really similar to mine. That's great. I'm not on my own. There's more of us out there. Oh, that person tried seed cycling or drumming or, you know, a different sort of therapy or hypnotherapy, whatever. And that worked for them. And, you know, I've been thinking about this. And I think it's almost like it's just giving us a lot more tools that we can tap into if we want to.
Yeah. But we can go ahead and do the research on, you know, based on the fact, you know, it's like listening to a friend, isn't it? You know, you're having conversations. Just because you say that you're doing this doesn't mean I'm going to go and do it. But it gives me a bit of I hadn't thought of that. I'm going to go and look into that a bit further.
Absolutely does.
And give myself the information. And that resonates with me. I might try that. And that's all we've ever wanted to do, isn't it?
It definitely is.
But there's been so many things that people have been doing, and it's been like, oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah. And books.
Yeah.
Books that people are reading.
Oh, my God.
You know, obviously being book people that we are.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I've got a big book list now that just is never ending.
A big book list, a big pile of books.
Yeah.
And none of them have been read yet.
Yeah. Because we haven't had the time.
No, not yet. But it's been because we've been having a good time.
Okay.
Sometimes. Sometimes.
But also, I think for you and I, because we are really enjoying this journey, that is giving us a bit more purpose.
Of course it is.
And we are having some incredible conversations on the podcast and off the podcast.
Yes, we are off the podcast as well.
And we've, you know, it has become one of those things where people are saying, oh God, how long is it going to take them to start talking about perimenopause? Because it just leads itself into so many conversations that we're having. It does.
I mean, you know, I can be at work chatting with a client and if the client... Well, no, it's not even if the client is a woman, you know, of a certain age, i.e. anything from being born to being dead. Just being a woman. But actually it's not just women.
No.
Because I'm having conversations with guys and they're, you know, if I'm, you know, in the polite conversation when you meet clients and stuff like that, you sort of say, you know, oh, so, you know, so what do you know, what else do you do? Oh, I'm doing this. I do a podcast. Oh, what's the podcast about? Oh, it's about this. Oh, right. Oh, my wife's really suffering at the moment. Or, you know, has been, you know, she went through stuff like that. And so you find yourself talking about the podcast, talking about perimenopause with anyone who will listen, really.
Yeah. I'm sorry for anybody that's got bored with our conversations so far. Yeah. Our poor husbands, our poor suffering husbands.
Yes, they do have the running joke though, don't you? Like you just said,
yeah.
You know, how long will we be in a room until someone mentions perimenopause?
Yeah.
But it's almost like, and I think you mentioned it earlier on, Lou, the perimenopause is almost like a catalyst, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a catalyst for change.
Yeah.
It's like the early rumblings of a storm that kind of might not be that intense, but it might be. But actually it's like weathering that and coming out the other side and realising what a bright, you know, But potentially you've got this whole bright new life ahead of you where you can embrace the joy. Yeah, it's tricky. And like we've had conversations over this weekend about, you know, ideally, you know, both you and I, and I'm sure you don't mind me saying it, would love to just live in the woods or in the field, in the middle of nowhere. But we're both aware that we've got children that are, you know, at some point they might have children and we'll have to be around to support them. We've also got parents that are getting older and we've got to be around to support them. And so it's not, it's I guess it's the yin and the yang, isn't it? It's the balance.
Yeah.
But I think in the time that we do have, that is our time, learning about our bodies and learning about what makes us happy, if we can spend the time that is ours, where we're not caring for other people, if we can spend that time in joy, then it will make the rest of your life more joyful. Even if you're not, you know.
Well, you're building your battery, aren't you?
Exactly.
So when those...
Nice way, I like that.
Yeah, in those times of where you're able to spend time on what the things you enjoy and the things that bring you peace.
Yes.
You are building your for me, it's building my social battery so that I am able to go out and do what I need to be doing.
Yes.
But then I find now my moments of peace and calm are a lot longer than they used to be, because I'm doing more things that bring me peace and joy and happiness and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and then I'm able to go and deal with all the rubbish that I need to deal with, because you know, life can be a bit rubbish sometimes. It can. Just day-to-day stuff.
Of course it can.
It can be quite stressful. So
or boring.
Or boring.
Yeah, because boring's like, you know, the shopping, the cooking, the cleaning, and I'm not saying, I mean, you know, my family do like help out. I've gone from cooking 6 or 7 times a week to maybe just 3 because the kids are helping. You know, obviously they're older and stuff. But it's, unless you love cooking, and I imagine even if you do love cooking, you'd probably get totally bored of it if you were cooking for a family every single day. It's not like you're cooking a nice special meal because your friends or your boyfriend's coming over back in the, you know, back when you were in your teens or 20s. But there is a lot of monotony, isn't there? That we kind of just ride through, you know, get up, get ready, go to work, come home, do the cooking, and then like watch TV in a lot of cases and rinse and repeat. So you do have to lift yourself up.
You do have to find those things that you're going to enjoy doing. Yeah,
and I've really cut down watching. I don't really watch much television at all. I listen to music quite a lot. I've got other things that I'm doing as well. You know, like I do a lot of writing and things like that. That brings me joy. But yeah,
tapping into your creativity.
And
I know that's something that is a bit of a buzzword at the moment as well, because but that is really important. However that looks, where you know, we had Olivia on who with her it was singing. And you know, it's finding those things that when you're doing them, you're not really paying attention to time. I always feel like that is the biggest indicator.
Yes, that is definitely.
You know, like I've not had to check my phone because I'm so immersed in what I'm doing. I've not even thought about what time it is or whatever, or you know, time has just gone, and that's when you know. There's a whole thing about flow state, isn't there? You know, when you're in flow state. I've got a book.
Of course you have.
Yeah. Called Flow. I'm trying to remember Michal something. I can't remember.
Okay, show notes.
Yeah. I've not managed to read it all yet, but that's on the list of things to read, because that's the whole premise of that, I think. And while we're in flow, we're not having to think about, we're not got all that noise going on in our heads.
No,
and stuff.
we really haven't.
We're just enjoying stuff. But then I really feel like that helps to reset your nervous system to some degree, and you know, you're able to live life a lot easier. But it's finding that thing. But you can only find that thing if you try lots of different things to find the thing that you really enjoy. Yeah,
and I know we had a conversation about this, was it yesterday? And I think we've been both quite similar in as much as we've tried lots of things and we've had like full-time jobs, part-time jobs. We've been on quite a few courses, uni, and
anything that's interested us, we've kind of followed it.
Yes.
Perhaps done a bit of a course in it or something,
Yes.
or gone to a group or activity and tried it and thought, oh, actually, no, that's perhaps not what I want to do. But I've tried it and know a little bit about it now.
Yeah, and but like, you know, the negative spin on that was, you know, for a long time I thought, oh God, maybe there's nothing that I know, I don't really fit anywhere. I don't fit anywhere, you know, but what is my purpose and why am I doing all of these different things? Is it because I can't hold one thing down? Is my attention just like not really interested in like doing, like following through? You know, a lot of people follow a career path, some people their entire life. But actually, I think when we were talking about it yesterday, and actually my thoughts on it for maybe the past few months have been a lot more around, I've needed to do all of those things to bring me to where I am now, so that I've got fingers in a lot more pies. And we were having a conversation about that yesterday, weren't we? When I say fingers in a lot more pies, I mean I've learned a lot more about a lot of things rather than staying on one career path.
Yeah, but how are you ever going to know that you don't like that thing if
Yeah,
you don't try that
exactly.
thing? It's much like when we did we went to the Outdoor Pursuit Centre to do that zip
Yeah,
lining.
we did.
It all sounded like a really great idea.
Yeah.
And I tapped into something that I used to do as a child.
Yeah.
I used to go to lots of outdoor pursuit stuff.
Yeah.
I was always abseiling, rock climbing, all that kind of stuff. I used to love all that stuff. Outdoors, used to go on outdoors holidays and all that kind of thing. And then as life goes on, and I stopped doing all that kind of stuff. I stopped when I was younger. I used to go on skiing holidays with the school and stuff. Stopped all that. So it's revisiting those things again.
Of course it is.
And realising actually I can still do those. So like with the skiing, I know I did it last year with my son. We're going to try snowboarding this year. Yeah. And it was just like, I'm going to try these things. Yeah. And see if I like them and if I'm any good at them. And like with the zip lining, I was really excited until we got there, and I was so scared.
Oh my God, I was so scared. I was so scared. And I think, you know, there was someone in the group who was very, very scared, and it took a bit of talking to get them to take on and go out, jump off the edge.
Yeah.
And that person went right before you, me, and a couple of our other friends who'd gone with us, and so then we were all basically shitting ourselves, weren't we? Because you know that poor person had been like, you know, come on, you know, you can do this. Like we've all, you know, like we've all been in situations like that. But I think that then put the willies up a bit further, and we were all a bit like, oh shit.
But then when she'd come down, I needed her to tell me that she'd enjoyed it.
Yes.
I said to her when she walked back up, I was like, was it okay? She was like, yes, it was brilliant. I was like, oh, thank God for that.
And did you shout, or did someone else go, are you doing it again? And she was like, yes, I'm coming back.
yeah. But I had to really push myself to jump off the edge.
Yes, and I did.
It was almost like just don't even think about
it. That's exactly what I did. I literally stepped off as soon as she said go.
But you know, for that split, I mean, it was a matter of seconds. It
wasn't even a second, was it?
But to do the whole zip line, and it wasn't even that high, was it?
No.
Really? But
I think you'd have died if it had have broke.
You'd have broke a leg, possibly.
I think you'd have broke your neck from the top. It was like a skyscraper. A small skyscraper, granted.
But that moment of going down the zip line, and I remember like hollering.
Yeah, that bit was great, wasn't it? Yeah.
Because for that split moment, I felt like my child.
That child again. Yeah.
And I felt quite emotional about that afterwards, because I had just reconnected with something that I had in my childhood that I had
lost.
not had for such a long time, because I've been fearful. And so that one exercise, that one evening of going and doing that with some friends, and getting over something that I was a little bit fearful about, pushing myself through it, having a brilliant experience, and so much so that we did it again.
Yes.
it was just like, oh, I need to do more of this.
Definitely.
Pushing
Yes.
myself to do stuff that I feel a bit uncomfortable about, because the rewards are far outweigh the fear.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do.
And like I went on a hot air balloon a couple of years ago.
Oh,
with my
I've been
mum.
on one of those before.
I was
so scared.
So scared
Yeah.
because I don't do well with heights, and it's all these stories we've told ourselves over the years. Oh no, I can't do that.
Yeah. What
because-
if? What if?
Yeah. And I'll feel sick. I'll feel sick because I feel sick in an aeroplane. So why won't I feel sick in a hot air balloon? And I built myself up for that, and it was the most glorious thing that I've ever done. It was when I think back to that time now, and it was such a beautiful memory.
Yeah. So where were you? Tell the listeners.
It was in Morocco.
Yeah.
So we went up over the Atlas Mountains,
Wow.
watched the sunrise over the Atlas Mountains,
Wow.
and it is a memory that I've got pictured in my head that I will never lose now.
Yes.
Such a beautiful memory, and every time I feel that fear of, oh, you can't do that, Lou, it's like, do you know what? It's a hot air balloon.
Yeah, remember the Atlas Mountains that you wouldn't have seen.
I wouldn't have seen that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had that experience had I not pushed myself to do
Yes.
something that I felt really uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
And that has been my marker now.
Yeah.
That's
a really good marker. That's a really good way of putting it, because if like thinking that you would not have seen the Atlas Mountains, you'd have not seen the sunrise. You wouldn't have seen the sunrise over those mountains if you'd have not done that.
Yeah.
And now look at what
The
that's
gift
created.
I've got.
Yes.
Yeah, that memory that I've got.
And being with your mum and having a special memory with your mum, both of you doing that together.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is like such a special memory. And I wouldn't have had that if I'd have let the fear get the best of me.
No.
And I do feel like over the years I have let the fear get the better of me.
Well, I have as well, yeah.
And I think, again, like I just said, it's that whole story I've told myself, I'm not one of those people, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I had, many years ago, I think there was a guy that was at my work, and I said something along the line, I think we talked about yoga, and I said, I can't do yoga, and he queried me on it. It's like, why? I went, oh no, I've got vertigo, and every time I move my head I feel a bit woozy, and I'm not very flexible, and and I had made this story of myself so much that would become my identity.
Wow.
And so I told myself I wasn't someone who could do yoga because of these reasons, and he really questioned me on it and was like, but where does that come from? And he was really curious.
Oh, okay.
I, for the life of me, can't remember his name, but he was a lovely man. And afterwards, I was annoyed at that conversation. It's like, why are you questioning me? Why are you questioning? I told you I couldn't do it. And it's only years later that I've come to think, God, he was so right to question me, and what story I told myself, and why I couldn't do it. And then when I started to go to the beginners yoga that I went to, and started to do the stuff, and started to realise I could do the stuff that I thought I couldn't do, again, that was another aha moment.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been building up these little aha moments, like when I did the degree and got through that. Yeah. And every so often I have to keep saying to myself, I did that through COVID, through job change, whilst having a family, and I have to keep telling myself
reminding yourself.
I've done these things. These have all been things that I thought I couldn't do, and I've done them, and I've done them better than I thought I could do. And that is something that I'm going to take into my 50s.
Yes, yeah. I think that's a good lesson, isn't it?
All part of that transition.
Yeah.
So what is lovely from that is that I question everything.
Yeah.
Why? Okay, what is it that's making you feel like that? What story have you told yourself that makes you think that you can't do that thing? And if it's a story that I can question and that I can perhaps get around and reframe to some degree, you know, it's not a story of you don't stand in the middle of the road because a car will come and get you. They're the stories that are there to save us,
yeah,
right?
absolutely right.
They're the stories that we've learned over. But the other stories that I've told myself over the years that have got no actual
hard evidence.
Yeah. It's just stuff that I've told myself over the years.
Yeah.
I'm really questioning.
Well, fear and anxiety can stop you doing a lot of stuff, can't they?
But they're there for really good reasons.
Well,
they are a mechanism.
Well, they are. You fight or flight, back to the old days where you'd have to run away from a tiger, so you'd need to, to bolt.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things we tell ourselves now based on fear and anxiety, like I think I've said before in the podcast, and I was really anxious of going on holiday after having a bad experience once where I think my drink was spiked, and it did make me feel really anxious for a while, but then that stayed with me whenever it came to us going on an aeroplane and going abroad, even when it wouldn't probably be a thing that I'd get my drink spiked because I was away with my husband and my children and my parents, so it was a family holiday, not a holiday where we'd go drinking.
It was the association of it.
It was all the association, and I think I said, in one of the other podcasts, but the hypnotherapy really helped me, and now I'm not bothered. I'm happy to get on a plane. I'm happy to go anywhere. But actually, if I was someone who got cross about things, I could be really pissed off with the anxiety for stopping me going abroad and for stopping me doing things.
Well, I almost feel like I am. I'm upset with myself for allowing fear to have got in the way of things. But now I'm trying to rewrite that story.
Yeah, and the thing is we can, and we've also had really good experiences, I mean, I was lucky enough to go travelling when I was like 19, 20, and I was away for quite a long time, and I travelled around Southeast Asia and America and Australia and New Zealand, and did like a massive trip, and it was one of the most joyous things ever, and I've got fantastic memories of that. So, yes, I have had bad experiences of being away from home. But I'd had like so many good experiences of being away where actually nothing bad had happened, and yet I was away for a really long time, and yet I'd let that kind of anxiety bubble kind of win for quite a long time.
But it's funny though with an age thing as well. So when you went travelling, you were a lot younger.
Oh God, I was a baby. I've got babies that age now.
Yeah, but we hadn't got we almost hadn't had the experiences to tell us that life is really quite scary and this might happen if you and it's I feel like the older I get, the more experiences I've got to look into to inform
what's
the situation.
Because
that's what we do as human beings, isn't it? We make meaning of things.
Of course we do.
And we are constantly trying to guess what the situation is going to be and what we need to do to get around that situation.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I think the more information we have, it's great. The more we research stuff, but then sometimes you think, have I got too much information in my head? Because now I'm like, how do I even make a call? We've had lots of conversations where we've been thinking, things are confusing more so when you are more curious, because you look at all the possible outcomes. I mean, it's brilliant because the curiosity drives. I don't know. I guess it's good for building. Building knowledge and things, because you don't see things from one side of the coin, and that's great for balance, isn't it? But being curious about everything is like.
Yeah, I think it's opened up the world to us more.
I think it really has. Just these conversations, and when you think, oh my God, it was only since January.
Yeah, but like just being curious about everybody that we meet, not even just on the podcast, but just generally, and like having the wonderful conversation. I mean, even here this weekend, we've had conversations with so many of our neighbours, haven't we, on the site, and learnt some wonderful facts about what's going on just by being curious about them and their lives, and I love that. I love the conversations that we're having.
Yeah, I love the conversations that we're having, and I think if we stop for a moment and we give people time, like, you know, I think we were talking about it earlier on, where if you stop and give people the time to talk, most of us as human beings are happy to interact with people. Yes, okay, I think, you know, when you're on holiday and you're away and other people are on holiday and you've got the views that we've got right now.
And the weather.
Yeah. People are a lot more, you know, we are
open.
Open and happy to have a natter. But actually even the people on the street are, you know, I guess that's about community as well, isn't it? And building a community. And you know, where we actually talk to one another again. Like they did.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I don't know, is that a thing that sort of like comes full circle? Maybe you're too, I mean, I know we're busy now, but maybe you're too busy going out and living your life and doing crazy stuff when you're younger, that you don't take as much notice of the street that you live on. But as you get older and these sorts of conversations start to happen and we realise that we are really curious about the people that live near us, or, I mean, the people that we've spoken to over the past 3 or 4 months, we've learnt so many things from them that we would never have known, but also some of them have been like people in our lives already, and the things we've talked about we hadn't spoken about before.
Yeah, and we've both increased our social circle
massively
just from that.
Yeah.
Which has been incredible as well. You know, we get to spend more time with these wonderful people, and it's been lovely.
Yeah, it really has.
I do feel very grateful.
Yeah, I'm really grateful, and it's great. You know, we record the podcast, and then we actually just sit and talk for another couple of hours, and it's incredible. I mean, you know, if anybody wants to come on the podcast, please just give us a shout, because we'd absolutely love to hear your story. And, you know, it might start with perimenopause, but, you know, like Lou and I's conversation, they never end up with perimenopause. We talk about everything else that kind of goes on for us as well during this time. And actually, if, you know, looking at perimenopause and beyond, it's also like women who are, you know, postmenopausal, and looking at their stories, like, you know, like one of our recent episodes where we spoke with, you know, some ladies who had actually, you know, some of the women who had actually already gone through menopause. Because actually tapping into the wisdom of our elders who have been through menopause and have come out the other side, it's really interesting to know what their journeys are, because they're a few steps ahead of us. Yeah. So for us to know that, you know, like, for example, I think it was Joanne was talking about, like, the flooding and things like that. You know, if we're kind of aware of things that might happen, but then we know it all stops and
we come through the other side. That's really quite happy.
It's powerful.
Yeah,
it's powerful, you know, because you could be thinking to yourself, oh my God, when are these going to stop? And okay, it might take a few years for things to settle, but actually knowing that actually it does stop and everything totally settles down is actually something that we should all know.
And I think that's why I want to do this kind of almost like research on myself.
Yeah.
By tracking everything, because I'm going to know what works, because every day is different.
Yes.
So, you know, there might be the days where I've not had much sleep or something, and it's had such a knock-on effect to the next day. But knowing that that's just that next day.
Exactly.
It's not forever.
You're not being tricky trickstered into thinking.
It's you know, and it is just literally being kind to myself on those days where I feel like I need to be kind to myself. And then on the other days where I'm feeling really like kind of full of energy and stuff, it's getting my stuff done.
Yeah.
And taking advantage of that and getting all those things done that I know. It's like make hay while the sun shines, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is...
Is it a perimenopausal woman who wrote that?
But it is a bit like, you know, really, it's not a bit like, it is listening to our bodies.
Yes, it is.
which is the most important thing.
Yeah, and we don't do that.
We don't
we're
do
not,
that.
Or we're not taught to do that, are we really?
Well, we lose our intuition.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we lose it. I don't think
No.
we ever lose it. We just don't give ourselves space to listen.
Yeah, and develop.
And that's why all these really wonderful tools like yoga, like qigong, like meditation, breath work, all these things that you know a lot of our guests are using. It's giving you time and space to really get in tune with your body and your own intuition, and really find out what works for you, because we are also unique. And I think one thing that we have also seen on what we're on 18, this is episode 18, right? So all of those people that we've spoken to, every single one of them has had a completely different journey.
Completely different. And that in itself is surprising, because the old thing of thinking menopause was just the day your period stopped.
Yeah.
And that it was the same for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then to find out that every single person, so how many people we spoke to, 16, 17, 18 with the group, you know.
Yeah, with the group.
You know, maybe 18, 20 people. And every single one of those people's, women's journeys has been totally different. Totally different. But when you think about it, of course it's going to be different, because none of us have been born to the same family or married into a family or have the same health experiences and everything else. So everything is complex. So that, you know, by the time you reach it, so of course we're all going to be totally different, which then comes back to the thing of the same thing ain't gonna work for everybody.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, yeah, it's. I think what we're finding out as well, with speaking to so many people, is that fundamentally we more or less all want the same thing. You know, we want that. You know, we want the joy, we want the peace, we want people to respect us and for us not to disappear into a cloud of invisibility as we age. And we want to sit around a campfire and just talk to each other and share our stories and listen. Yeah, community and create stuff. And, you know, I think that's been key.
Sorry,
right.
Michelle. Some of the conversations that we've had, you know, our guests have come back to us and said, you know, that I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed having that time to talk, and I found it really beneficial. And that as well, you know, is really important, to be able to talk to somebody, to anybody,
and feel like they've heard you. Yeah, definitely.
That's massive.
It is. And every time we speak to, you know, people, well, every time we speak to the women on the podcast, I almost feel like little bits of me sometimes are shifting and healing and moving. And so it's almost like growing. And so it's almost like you're kind of like having these conversations, but the conversations are the tool that kind of shifts your own shit along a little bit, or I don't know, powers you up.
Yeah, because we're in other people's stories, we're seeing parts of ourselves, and then that helps us to kind of process that as well, and get a different perspective, possibly, possibly reframe something that we've been struggling with. And this again, it feels like we've just come full circle. This is why we started it in the first place,
isn't it? You
came at it from a place of stories and, you know, with your script writing and all that kind of stuff. I came at it from a place of psychology and community and, you know, how people learn about themselves, and it's all interweaved, isn't it?
Yeah. And then you throw in the experiences that we had, and wanting to kind of get a voice out there, get all our voices out there, so that no one feels like they're alone in those moments where you can feel alone, because I did, even though I had a great support network.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's just us all coming together and helping each other, right?
Yeah, we love it.
We do love it. We do love it. So, yeah. Okay, well, it's a really sunny day, so we're going to head off and probably have a mooch up and down the hills if Lou can get back up the hill.
I might just sit in the sunshine, to be fair.
Or she might drag me down the beach. So enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget, you know, if you want to come on and have a chat with us, we would absolutely love to hear from you. Now that can take place in person, but you know, if you're not in the local area, by all means, you know, we've done a few remote episodes now, and we have got just as much out of those remote episodes as we have from the in-person. So yeah, give us a shout. Have a great day. Thanks ever so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Wild, Wise and Curious. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, feel free to email us at info@wildwiseandcurious.com or reach out on our socials at wild_wise_and_curious. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Stay curious, and we'll see you next time.